Tom Vasel here. Welcome to Board Game Breakfast, where me and a group of contributors are here to talk to you about board games, card games, and the people who play them. We are coming back to some normalcy here after the Gamma Trade Show a couple weeks ago. If you've noticed, last week we started posting videos of that. We actually have all of them finished and edited, but we didn't want to post them all at one time because, first of all, we want to make sure that, each one kind of gets their fair share, and we also don't want to overwhelm you. You really can't watch 50 of them in one day. Well, some of you can, but most people can't. So the Gamma videos are coming and they're done, and we're back to reviewing and stuff this week. There will be a live Q&A today at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come ask questions. That's at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be answering your questions live. You'll also notice that we're slowly changing things over. We're slowly moving some of our video editing around. You'll notice that our editing from the Gamma Trade Show itself was hopefully changed. You'll notice that in some videos, we're starting to use our new microphones. This is not something that's going to be instantly phased in. There's still, for one reason, it's a lot of work to set up some of this stuff. So this is going to be gradually phased in, and you'll see that coming as these weeks go by. We've hired a new video editor, Derek Porter. He will be starting with us, he'll be moving here next week. And so over the month of April, he'll be coming on board, and hopefully you'll notice the fruits of that as time goes by. Okay, well, let's get to the news. We're still coming down off that huge amount of news that was released at the Gamma Trade Show. There's a lot of different things. In the month of April, there is Tabletop Day that's coming up, I believe, on the 30th of April. And so there's a lot of events that are being scheduled around that. One of the events is being run at the F2Z headquarters in Canada. And I'll be talking a little bit more about that later on in the show. So keep an eye on that, but they are going to be giving a tour of their place and playing some of their upcoming games, including the new Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu and the new expansion for Flick 'em Up. Fantasy Flight has some new stuff. The X-Wing dials, those really nice plastic dials to replace the ones that come with each of the games. So if you really want to bling out your game, those are now available. Star Wars Rebellion is supposed to be out this week, so keep an eye looking out for that. And they announced Wave 3 of the Armada. And these are the Rebel transports and Imperial assault carriers. If we're going to see these Imperial assault characters in both Star Wars Rebellion and X-Wing, it just makes sense that we'll see them everywhere. This is like a mini wave almost. This should also be called like Armada Wave 2.5. Dice Masters has announced Dice Masters Civil War to the surprise of absolutely nobody, but it does look cool, and hopefully you'll see a review on that in the future. Board Game Geek did the Golden Geek Awards. These were finally announced. They were nominations and voting. Think of these as the People's Choice Awards, kind of, sort of, or at least the People's Choice by Board Game Geeks. This Pandemic Legacy certainly swept the awards, getting both Game of the Year, Strategy Game, and Thematic Game. Seven Wonders Duel got Two-Player Game and Card Game. Mysterium got Best Art. Codenames got Best Family. One of the podcasts in the Dice Tower Network, the Secret Cabal Gaming Podcast, got the best podcast. So congratulations to all of the winners of that. And of course, people are yelling and screaming about them because they do about any award. But the good news is if people are yelling and screaming about your award, that means at least people notice your award has occurred. Let's see. Pearl has announced that they're going to be reprinting Troyes and the Ladies of Troyes. Now, I never played the Ladies of Troyes. The original Troyes I was not a big fan of, but I know a lot of people are, so that will be good news to many people. There's a game called The Queue. This is a game about the communism at the end of the days of Poland, and there's talk that this game might be banned in Russia, so there's some controversy over that right now. White Wizard has announced Hero Realms. This is a fantasy version of Star Realms. Again, this is kind of one of those announcements you're like, that's surprising. But still, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be really excited about that. Mayfair, now that they've thrust off the shackles of Catan, and what do they have left? They have Agricola. So they have announced Agricola Organized Play. This is following on the heels of their announcements that there will be a family version of Agricola and things like that coming out this year. So that's interesting. I never really thought of Agricola as one of those games you'd be like, hey, let's have an organized event around it. But maybe with the new family version, this will kind of work hand in hand with that. Hey, Suzanne, give us the Kickstarter news.
Happy breakfast, everybody. Let's take a quick look at what's happening in our crowdfunding world today. Designers Ben Pinchback and Matt Riddle are bringing us the Goonies Adventure card game. The game mechanisms are actually really simple, making this playable by younger players. And as you want in an IP-based game, there is tons of theme in here. In the Goonies, you have to clear obstacles, explore locations, defeat booby traps, and find treasure, and escape to the ship, all before too many fratellis come out. As a fully cooperative game, you're going to work together during team turns, sharing 4 actions, and each character has a special ability to help out the team. Publisher Albino Dragon has a history of making specialized card decks, so the production quality on the game should be really strong. And a pledge of $25 will get you a copy of the game. In the latest Monikers campaign, you can get the new Something Something expansion, but you can also get the base game and previous expansion as well. This take on a public domain game similar to Time's Up has players go through 3 rounds in which you have to identify the thing that's listed on a card. But in a nice touch, Monikers includes little factoids about the people and things that are on the card. Players use the same cards every round, and in the first round, you can say anything you want. In the second round, you can only use 1 word, and in the third round, you can only gesture and use body language. The incredible metagame full of micro inside jokes that form leads to a lot of laughter. You can get the Something Something expansion that includes 112 new cards and is playable on its own for just $10, or you can get all things Monikers for $45. From the makers of Heroes of Normandy comes Carnage. Yeah. This is a card-based battle game that's kind of a King of the Hill fight as you battle opponents to try to defeat their armies to earn battle points. The gameplay mechanisms and rules are dead simple, and the gameplay is pretty swift and snappy. The use of 3 different battle lines adds a little bit of complexity, but really, this is a thrash and bash card game using simple initiative and hit versus defense mechanisms. A pledge of £22 plus shipping will rain the carnage down on you. One of the games I most often hear listed as a grail game is Colosseum. Our own Sam Healy often torments viewers espousing how wonderful the game is, and it is wonderful. Well, for everybody who's been wanting to get their own copy, you now can, thanks to Tasty Minstrel picking it up for a second edition. Colosseum the Emperor's Edition will feature the same gameplay that everybody loves, in which you're building up an arena to put on bigger and better shows to draw in more powerful attendees. Tasty Minstrel is a reliable producer of high-quality board games, and this edition will feature metal gaming coins, layered arenas, huge meeples, and more. But this one's been fairly controversial, at least in the online conversations that I've seen, because people are complaining about the art. Jackie Davis is one of the most prolific and talented artists we have in board gaming today. And while her art is excellent, some people are saying that it is too light and cartoony for Colosseum. And to that I say, fie. Look, this was a Days of Wonder title, which means it's actually a lighter game. So you could argue that the art's just been updated to more closely adhere to the weight of the game. Or you could argue that the art is now less austere and therefore more inviting to casual gamers. Or you could argue that no change in the art would have satisfied gamers that have been wanting this game for years. Whether you like the art or not, Colosseum is still a great game, and it's now finally easy to get. A pledge of $60 will get you a copy of Colosseum. Okay, that's all I've got for you this week. Until next week, play all the games.
Hey, welcome to Girls Game Shelf. I'm Christina.
I'm Jaleesa.
And we are reviewing Fog of Love. You are a stammering farmer.
Hey, I'm Joe. I'm a farmer. Carrots, mostly. You are a lean pilot with worn jewelry. You've had it for a while, and you're very eloquent.
I played someone who's totally not me. Not that I'm not lean and eloquent.
If I had been this kind of person in a relationship, let's see what would happen. This will be fun. Do you believe in ghosts?
We want a trip to Italy!
Woo! We need to lose some weight.
The game mimics relationships really well. You have to kind of choose who you end up with, but then you also have to think about yourself and your own traits and have both of those things in the balance when you're making decisions.
I just would like for us to have maybe the rest of our life in my little cabin on a farm, and I was wondering if you might possibly marry me.
You can do sweet cards at first, then you go to more serious cards, then you can go to dramatic cards. So it escalates pretty nicely. Just can't see a reason to say no, honestly. So I'm gonna say yes.
Oh.
I will marry you.
Ooh, +5 to both.
Yay! We're getting married. Somebody's getting married today.
If I want to get a new story or a different story card.
You're hiding it. What's going on here? What are you hiding?
All right, let's throw this into the mix.
All right.
Mix it up.
What's going on?
Look, I'm very sorry, but it turns out I'm actually already married. Oh, here's a nice little card for you. I'm actually married. And it was like a very distant cousin, and I just thought, you know.
A cousin?
Well, I don't know. I've heard from my mother that there might be some connections, but it doesn't matter.
Do I believe you? How since you're pretty sincere. You're pretty sincere and you're pretty simple. So I think I do believe you that you didn't realize that you were married to your cousin.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3. Oh! Look, I know I'm pregnant and that we're getting married, but I just don't think it works.
Good luck.
We did not work out. There was no way we could work out.
There's a springtime, and there's a fall time, and there's the dead of winter.
Oh, let's take it.
All right.
It's fun to play with your friend. It would be really fun to play with your partner. So there's a lot of things working for it, and I know that this is just a prototype. So I'm excited to see where it goes when it comes out in 2017. It's a great game to have on your shelf. Go for it. Check it out. Kickstarter, Fog of Love. Woo! We are launching our Kickstarter this week. So check us out, and for more episodes, check us out on www.girlsgameshelf.com. See you next time.
Hey there, this is Mike with the Board Game Makeover. In this episode, I show you one of my favorite first edition games called Planet Steam, and how I did a little bit of a component upgrade, but I added custom compartments to hold the components in this big box. Let me show you what I did. Planet Steam is a strategy board game of resource management where players must compete to extract the precious resources of the planet and trade them for upgraded equipment and control of the planet. The paper money that came with the game was replaced by custom poker chips featuring steampunk numerical labels and a glossy finish. Poker chip holders were added to the game to help players keep their poker chips a secret. Custom storage containers were added to hold the various game components. The wooden box was found at a local thrift store and came with a puzzle which I quickly recycled. Part of the box art was reprinted on glossy photo paper and attached to the box lid, adding many coats of polyurethane to seal the picture to the box and create a glossy effect. A steampunk-looking flying vessel was found on eBay to replace the first player token. Overall, Steam Planet soared from a great game to an even greater game with these custom upgrades. Well, there are many games that don't require any kind of a makeover for components, artwork, or theme. Planet Steam was one of those games that came close, except the paper money really bothered me, so I had to make the poker chips to replace the money.
Planet Steam has a very, very big box, which makes it easy to create a custom storage unit. Thanks for watching the Board Game Makeover. I'll see you next time.
Hi, welcome to Painting 101. Now this week kind of starts Shadows of Brimstone week for me, because this segment I'm actually going to look at the models, and later this week I'm going to be doing a review on Shadow of Brimstone. Now the models, they're okay. This guy is really kind of cool and he was fun to paint, but they were really, really tough to put together. Some of them, there were just so many gaps in there that have to be filled. It just really was very difficult to put some of these guys together, and especially this guy here for Swamps of Death. There were just a lot of gaps that have to be filled and stuff like that, which we'll be covering next week. But all in all, some of the detail, like on the figures and the heroes and stuff like that, just wasn't there, and it was very, very disappointing. Like the girl here, the saloon girl, it wasn't the greatest thing. Now, all in all, They're decent miniatures, but for the average gamer, I think it'd be kind of hard to put them together and have to with so much cleanup and stuff. So I would have to give this a 6 out of 10. Now, how is the game? Well, check my review later this week, and I'll let you know. Until next week, I'm Rob Orrin, and we'll see you soon.
I'm really excited about all the content that we have coming this week. There is a lot. We are having 4 of those Gamma videos that are going up each and every day. So that includes even today we're having several of them going up. So that's 28 videos coming up this week. We have 2 top 10s coming out for you this week. Very excited about both of those. I am back to reviewing. So reviews will be coming out from me, from Sam, from Z. We got reviews from our other contributors that are coming out this week. There's a lot of content, and I hope that you enjoy it. And if we have time later on in the week, we might even do another We Play the Internet style games. So that's what's coming out from us this week. Until next time, what are you doing? That's my game.
Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here, and corporate retail policy as it extends to the virtual marketplace is not something that I'm going to be talking about today. Are you kidding? I just got back from the Gamma trade show, and I am super excited to start talking about some of the new games coming out this year that were previewed at the show. For example, the first game that I noticed getting a lot of buzz there, both from those in attendance at the show and from those following along online, was Star Trek Panic. Now, as many of you already know, I am a big fan of panicking. So this game sounded like something that was right up my alley. Star Trek Panic, published by Fireside Games, is the next iteration in their Panic series, which started with Castle Panic and continued with Dead Panic. Now, this series is one of the closest representations of an electronic castle defense game that I've seen in board games. The premise is that the players control a structure in the center of the board, while enemies continually advance from the outer fringes, marching ever closer and closer towards the player's central sanctuary. And players win if they defeat all of the encroaching enemies before those enemies do the same to them. Star Trek Panic seemed to catch a lot of people's attention, not only because it's licensed off the classic television sci-fi programming, but because it appears to be more than just a reskinning of the previous titles in the Panic line. This one adds several new features and missions and options to the game, including a sense of movement, because players can maneuver and pilot the ship, allowing them to dodge incoming attacks or strategically take damage on the ship where they're least vulnerable. Additionally, since the enemies are now heavily armored incoming warships that are shooting missiles right at you instead of being lumbering orcs and zombies, players may have to start making tactical decisions to survive much sooner than in previous titles. So, all of those new features, combined with an actual 3D representation of your shields and the Enterprise itself, including damaged parts to apply to the ship as it takes hits, all of that really intrigued me. And this is definitely a game that I'm planning on seeking out when it's released, which is currently scheduled to be around May 2016. So, what other games did I discover at the trade show that caught my attention? Well, join me next time when I'll continue the list of my top games from Gamma 2016.
Hey, it's about time that we have another contest. But this is a short contest. In fact, this contest will end by next Board Game Breakfast. So when I record next Board Game Breakfast, which is this coming Sunday, I usually record them on Sundays, the contest is over at that point. Now, this is in relationship with the F2Z Tabletop Gaming Day. They are flying me up there for their tabletop day at their headquarters, and they're also bringing in Chris Quilliams, who's a well-known artist. He's done a lot of games. You can look him up on Board Game Geek. He did Babel, Clash of Cultures, Flip 'em Up, Pandemic. He's worked on many different games. And so we're going to be there on Tabletop Day, and they're inviting other people to come and join them. There's different ways, different contests around. Well, one of those contests is here. Now, if you win this contest, you still have to provide your own transportation and lodging to get there. But if you do get there, and I believe there's only about 30 people going to be able to come and stuff, you'll likely have a chance to play games with us, and you'll get to see the F2Z headquarters. You're going to get to see the offices. It's from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Tabletop Day. I have 3 of these that I'm going to be giving out, and each of these is a pair. So if you win this, you can bring somebody else with you. So how do you enter this contest, you might ask? That's easy. Just email us at dicetower@gmail.com, and in the subject heading, put the word legacy, Legacy. And this stands for, of course, Pandemic Legacy. One of the questions I get asked all the time, I don't really care, but people ask me all the time, what game would you like to see made into a legacy game? And my answer is I'd like to see any game made into a legacy game, maybe, or just something new, like the Seethe, which is coming out from Plaid Hat Games, which is part of the F2Z brand. So my question is, if you want to enter this contest, put legacy as your subject heading, and then in the email itself, tell me what existing game would you like to see made into a legacy game, or if you don't have an existing game, what theme would you like to see? Well, that's all you have to do. I'll randomly pick 3 winners. I'll announce them next Board Game Breakfast. Thanks to F2Z for sponsoring this contest. I hope to see some of you at the end of this month.
Hello again, Niels Silsbrettspiele, and today in the best and the worst, we are talking about Legacy, the testament of Duke the Crazy, Portal Games. Okay, let's start. My favorite part on Legacy is this family tree. Build your own family tree. You start with your parents. Technically, you start with a female or a male head of the family. Then you marry him, and then you get 1, 2, 3 children. Then you get in the next generation even more children, and you build a 4th generation. However, that is exactly the flip side. What you can see is roughly 80% down the road in one game and only one player area. This is on the table so huge that takes so much table space. At some point you have to make it like this, but then you cannot read the text anymore. So the table space is a problem. But however, on the other hand, it looks so brilliant. Build your own family tree. Wow. You can hear it. I'm still getting goosebumps when I think about this game and the theme and how really good it works together. Brilliant. That was my personal best and worst for Legacy. My name is Niels. See you next time. The best and the worst. Bye bye.
One of the things that we often talk about in board game is the expense of board games. They are not the cheapest things in the world, and some of them can get very expensive. So I often get questions from people who ask about the ethics of making their own board game, finding a board game that exists and for whatever reason making your own copy for it, some sort of print and play. Sometimes, and this is kind of excluding games where the designers have made that readily available. This is something that's often happens on Kickstarter, is where the company will say, hey, here's our game, here's a print and play version of it. Okay, well with that, it's very obvious. Go ahead and print and play the game. People print it out, cut it out, paste it up, and do all that sort of thing. I'm not a big fan of print and play myself just because I find that amount of work tedious for me. I don't find it as exciting to put the game together, and it seems like an awful lot of work to get a game. I'd rather go earn money some way and buy the game. But there are games that people are printing and playing that are actually commercial games. Now, as far as I can tell, people do this for 4 main reasons. One, they do it because the game is out of print. It's either impossible to find or it's extremely expensive. You just can't go to the store and buy a copy of it. Some people do it because the game is too expensive for them. They don't have the money, they can't afford the game, so they are printing and playing their own version of the game. Some people do it because they want a custom version of the game. This is like, oh, I want a space version of this game, and it doesn't come in a space version, so I'm going to print my own copy out and make it space. Sometimes people do it to make a deluxe version of the game. Well, I like how this looks, but I want mine to look much, much better. And some people do it because, hey, they just have a lot of fun putting games together, to cut out the cards, to glue the things, to print out the stickers, and all that jazz. Now, this is an interesting dilemma, right? Is this right or wrong? And obviously everything I say here, as is everything I say in Tom Thinks, is my opinion. But I think most people would agree with me that if you are printing games out and on your own of currently published games and are selling them without permission of the publisher or author, that is not only unethical, that is illegal. It is piracy, pure and simple. And I know there's a lot of people around the world who participate in piracy, who partake in it from the end user perspective, but I cannot, the Dice Tower does not as a whole, condone such policies. I don't think that they're right. I think that that's very wrong, to take something and profit off something that someone else did. So the question comes down to, what if you're doing it for yourself? Now this is where it's more sharply divided. And if I look at these reasonings, I think some of them can be grouped together, like where you're making a custom version or making a deluxe version or a version for the joy of it. I think it's perfectly acceptable to make your own version of the game if you've bought a version. So let's say I want to make my own copy of Airlines Europe. I don't like the fact that it's about airlines. I'd rather make a game about connecting dragons in Middle-earth or whatever. For whatever reason, I think that I should buy a copy of Airlines Europe because I am utilizing their idea to make my own game. I'm utilizing Alan Moon, who's the designer of the game, his hard work that he put into that, and that company who took the chance on his game. So if I buy that game and make my own copy of it, hooray! I don't see any problem with that. No one's going to fuss about that. It's a good time. Now, you might say, well, why do I need to buy my own copy of the game? And this kind of bleeds over into the people who are making their own copy to avoid paying the company. Well, here, I think that's wrong. And I know that there will be comments probably on this YouTube video, and comments from people, because I've gotten them before in the past, where they don't have any problem with this. They say it's not unethical. You are not actually physically stealing something from that person. But you are taking the hard work that they put into a game, and you are taking that, something that they have on the market, you are utilizing what they have done for yourself to get joy out of it, and you're basically not giving them any thanks at all. See, one of the things I think about money when you buy a game is it's a transaction of sort. You're saying, thank you, designer and publisher, for this enjoyment that this game has given me. Here's some money. Now, of course, sometimes the game doesn't give you enjoyment, but that's a different story. So if that's the case, why are you so opposed to giving the designer and publisher money? You say, well, it's so expensive, blah, 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 blah. Well, then there are many games which are not expensive. There are many tiny Epic and other style games which are very small and very inexpensive and will also provide you with enjoyment. I think many times people who try to say, well, these games cost too much, are simply cheap. That's really often the reason. I've met a lot of people who, for example, have downloaded movies and music in the past. And these were not poor people who were doing it. These were people who could afford to buy a DVD or a CD. They just did it because it was free. Why should they pay for something they get for free? A board game's not quite so simple. You can't simply download it. It's a lot more work to print and play. Although with the advent of 3D printers, it's going to be easier to steal games. But I am not in the... I cannot advocate that at all. I think that doing that is wrong, unless, of course, like I said, you buy a copy of the game. Give that person some money. Give them something towards the hard work that they've put into that. Now, where this gets sticky, of course, is the out-of-print game. Well, I can't buy the game. I can't do it. Is it okay to make an out-of-print game for myself only? In this case, I lean towards yes, that's okay. I don't do it myself personally, although to be honest, I don't do it because it's a lot of work. If it was not a lot of work, would I do it? I don't know. I don't know how many out-of-print games that I must have right now. But if there was one, I really liked it, would I make my own copy of it? I don't know. I think I would try to hunt down a copy of it, but even hunting down a copy of it on the secondary market isn't helping out the designer and the publisher. It's helping out the person who sold that one to you. So in that instance, I think, again, as long as you're not reselling it, I think that's okay. I think when you do resell it, like in the recent case where they did Hero Quest, I think that is wrong and, again, should be illegal. But I think in the case where it's out of print and you can't find it, I think in that aspect, it's okay. Although if you ever do run into a designer at a convention or something, you certainly should take them out to dinner or something like that. What are your thoughts on this? I know that thoughts on this are very varied and people are going to have very different opinions on it. So I'm very curious to see how how that comes across. Let me know. Is it okay to make games for yourself? Those publishers and designers are greedy anyway, right? I don't think so, but maybe you do. Let me know in the comments. This has been Tom Thinks.
Hi guys, welcome to Playing the News, where I look at the news and see what games come to mind. Last week, a group of Japanese archaeologists in Egypt used radar scans to find 2 hidden chambers inside of King Tut's tomb. This sparked my enthusiasm for archaeology, so this week I am playing Thebes. In Thebes, you are an archaeologist trying to find as many treasure as you can from the different excavation sites. Time is a currency. How will you spend your time? Read some books, hire an assistant or equipment, or maybe talk to some locals. All these things help you be more successful at finding treasure. When it is time to actually start digging, you use this handy time wheel that takes in account of your collected knowledge, as well as the amount of time you want to spend digging. The time wheel will tell you how many tokens you can take out of a bag of tokens. The bag is filled with treasure, but also with sand. The sand you put back into the bag, ready for another to find, and the treasure you take home and maybe show off in an exhibition to score some points. You get points for having those valuable treasures that you found, as well as being an expert on a specific excavation site. There are points for the person who attended the most conferences, and you get points for the treasures you have put on display. Spending your time wisely, as well as having a good amount of luck, helps you a lot in Thebes. It is a great family game. Thanks for watching.
Hey folks, just a real quick gaming component today. These are 8-bit dice. 8-bit dice come for $10 and you'll get 6 of them in a packet. So you're going to get these orange ones, or you'll get the ones with hearts on them, or you'll get the numeric ones here. Now each of these has obviously that 8-bit theme, and if you know my opinions on this, I'm still not sure why people are so enamored with having everything in 8-bit font. Like for example these are 8-bit hearts. Why does that matter? Why not just make them regular hearts? I guess it's nostalgia, but what have you. The heart ones are, of the 3 types, are my favorite in how they look. That's cool. I could see myself using those in games. These are cool too. They look like Super Mario bricks or something like that. Although they do look like they're stickered, right? They're not. These are not stickered. They're printed on the dice. But that leads us to a problem with these heart ones, and with these, the numbers are imprinted on them, which means that if after using them for a while, that's going to wear off. These black and green ones, which are actually by far my least favorite looking of the 3, these actually are engraved into the dice, so they're going to have a much longer lifespan. They're cool. I don't know that this is for everybody. I'm always on the lookout for more dice, right? But what games would I put these in? I'm sure there's some games. These look like you would want to use them in Boss Monster. There are dice. Maybe you want to use them in different games where it's kind of thematic to that purpose. Maybe Arkham Horror. I don't know. But either way, these are 8-bit dice.
Hi, I'm Ian from Open the Box Games Jr. and I'm back. And to celebrate, we're looking at a game with tons of components, and it's called Peter by Crash Games. So let's open the box. box. When I say tons of components, I really mean tons of components. It comes with a rulebook, the classic components, a main board, player boards, tons of them, money tokens, at least they're not paper, fake gold, small gold, a hard hat that's for the start player, cubes, tokens, and meatballs. So many great components. I don't know which one's my favorite. Enough about my copy of Pater. How do you get your own brand new copy of Pater? It's simple. I'm having a contest. All you've got to do is submit a picture of you with your favorite component on Twitter. Details are down below. So I'm Ian from Open the Box Games Jr. And I'm so glad to be back with you guys. So glad. See you next time. Bye.
Hi, Suzanne here, this week's featured board game app. The Spiel des Jahres nominee with the worst name ever, The Game, surprised me with an app release last week. I've been working on some heavier game segments, but this one's quick and light, so let's take a look. The Game is a simple cooperative card game in which the goal is to play all of the cards in the deck that range from 2 to 99. You do this by playing cards in ascending or descending order respectively on any of the 4 piles. The rules are incredibly simple, but achieving a win is agonizingly hard to accomplish, and I suppose that's what makes it good. Developed by Outline Development, the game focuses on the solitaire rules, which is a great decision. Because multiplayer relies heavily on interpersonal communication, it's not ideal for online or even single-device multiplayer, and I think those would have been bad app experiences. But before you bemoan missing multiplayer, this app does include the Fire expansion as an option that adds compulsory play on certain cards. And in a very cool move, there's also an app-only mode called Lift Up that adds proximity scoring with multiplier bonuses. There's no tutorial, which is okay with me because the rules are so simple and implemented very well in the app. The interface is simple and intuitive, and everything plays beautifully. My single complaint about the app is that it uses the same art as the physical game, which I personally detest. It's monotonous, and for such a light, family-friendly game, it's oddly eerie and dark. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Outline offers an alternative visual in the future. The game is an excellent solitaire game that offers variety, quality, and is available on iOS and Android. If you need help finding it in the app stores, you'll have more luck searching for the developer's name than the actual name of the game. But it's worth the effort because this is a great app.
Hi Internet, I'm Amanda. I'm one of the game gurus at Snakes and Lattes. Gamers are always asking us how they can get their friends who don't game into gaming. In previous videos, my colleagues have tackled games like Munchkin, Monopoly, and Candyland. What's play after those? Today I'm going to tackle Guess Who? Guess Who is a great game for its target demographic. It's one of our most popular games. In fact, adults are asking for it more than kids. The first thing I do when I see people playing Guess Who is I go over and I tell them about subjective Guess Who. No more concrete questions. Gone are the questions like, is your person wearing a hat? And in their place are questions like, did your person just fart in church? This allows us to put a little bit more fun into a game where adults are going to get bored of it and allow you to sort of go with the nostalgia a little bit longer. A great alternative for couple games when you're playing Guess Who is the Mr. Jack family of games. My favorite one is Mr. Jack Pocket. It's also the simplest one to play. In this one of you plays Jack the Ripper, who is trying to escape from a team of investigators. The team of investigators are trying to catch Jack before Jack can get to 6 points. A great alternative for people who don't want to play a game that is inspired by an actual serial killer is Phantom of the Opera. This is a game where the murderer is fictional and also is more interested about scaring people than actually doing them harm. If you are a group of people that want to play Guess Who and realize, hey, Guess Who is a 2-player game, maybe we should play something more for a group, we've got Spyfall and Codenames. Spyfall is a game where one of you is an unwitting spy who doesn't know where they are but are trying to figure that out. Everybody else has a location card and they're just trying to figure out which one of them is the spy. Codenames is a deduction game, and if you'd like to find out more about it, you can look at Steve's video, What Did Steve Buy This Time? Gen Con Edition. Most people don't look back at picture books they read when they were kids or movies they watched when they were kids. So why is it that we go back and revisit games like Guess Who? If you have a game that you loved from when you were a kid, tweet it to us or respond in the comments below. And if you have something you want us to check out, we'd be happy to recommend you some more sophisticated counterparts for you to play next.
And we come to the end of another Board Game Breakfast. Thanks so much for watching the show. Thank you to all the contributors who contributed stuff to this show. There's a lot going on this week. Come back every day at 1:30 to watch our Gamma Trade Show coverage. There's no week in review this week. Again, I apologize about that, but it will be back in full force next week because there are reviews coming up the wazoo. You're going to see a lot of reviews this week, and there will be some minor changes to Week in Review, but you'll see that next Monday. Don't forget to come back at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for some live Q&A questions. I'll talk to you guys then. Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower. My name is Tom Vasel, and this has been Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of game news with Tom Vasel and Oliver Kay. Until next time, I'm Jeremy Summer. You've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at CoolStuffInc.com.